This is to Truth Be Told, and this will be the last video I make until until we're able to talk or whatever. And I want to start out right at the beginning saying what I say out of sheer concern, and also trying to understand your point or the points you make. Now, just to address the Didache right off the bat. Didache dates between AD 50 and AD 120. Athanasius in his 39th Paschal letter in AD 367, when he's the first one to list the books of the New Testament as we have them today in the West, tells us to read the Didache before even opening the reading the New Testament. And I know many Protestants like to use him to support the New Testament canon of the West. But if you look at the Moratorian canon, you see that you said fraudulent, and I'm not sure that you understand the difference between homolegomena, antilegomena, heretical, non-canonical, and spurious, because there was huge dispute in the first 3 centuries of 2nd Peter, 2nd and 3rd John, James, Jude, the Apocalypse. The Apocalypse of John was the biggest one. And then there were works like the Shepherd of Hermas, 1st Clement, that were also debated whether to go in or not. And we see, you can also see this development in adverse heresies of Irenaeus of Lyon in his work. Now, you quote early church fathers like Clement of Alexandria, but have you read the Stromata? Have you read any of the early works of the early church fathers? Because you quote the early church fathers, you quote late bishops and priests and stuff, such as Father Seraphim Alexos, who in himself is not an authority. But I wonder if all of these quotes of the early church and these Orthodox writers, and remember, Paul of Samosata didn't believe in the divinity of Christ and was considered a heretic later on. Spiridon of the 16th century agreed with Calvin and was made to recant, but he had already written a whole book or a manual on orthodoxy being just like Calvinism. But they said you're either anathematized or you go, you renounce this nonsense. And I just wonder, all of these quotes that you used and all the sources that you used, did you read any of them? Did you read any of the works of the early church? Because the ones that you quote talk about infant baptism, talk about the Eucharist being the body and blood of Christ. Now, even the Didache, the dating of the Didache from the 10th century, maybe the Diasilica is late, but the Didache, I mean, even the manuscript evidence alone puts it earlier than that. The vast majority of New Testament scholarship, and I can go more in depth on this in a separate video, puts the Didache between AD 50 and AD 120. Another thing, you said that bishop was elder. No, bishop is overseer. Elder is, not sure if elder is presbyter, but bishop is overseer. And they're two different things. In the presbyter and bishop are two separate things in the works of Paul. Now, do you agree that the pastoral letters are spurious? Because there is antilegomena in the New Testament. And then some of the people that you quote, the sources, would say that the pastoral epistles of Paul are spurious and frauds. And they would say the same thing about 1st and 2nd Peter. So you cite some sources, but how could you take that all as authoritative? And then there's other things that you don't cite, and you demand citations. But when you're demanding citations as you're quoting the early church fathers, I get the idea that you've never, ever read the works that you're citing. You're only using a proof text and taking it completely out of context. And I worry because some of these things that you brought up in here, if you believe them, not just question, if you wholeheartedly believe them, like that infant baptism is wrong, or you're unsure of it and you take the Eucharist, I mean, that would just set you out excommunicated, not anathematized. You'd still be part of the church, but be worried about you taking communion. And it almost looks like the criticisms of the Orthodox Church, it actually really does look like criticisms of the Orthodox Church are coming from outside the Orthodox Church. I wonder who your initial source is for this, not just the quotes. And also Hislop, to think of Hislop as reliable in any view of orthodoxy is like saying that it's like going and saying Origen is reliable, or Tertullian, or let's find another, or all works of Tertullian, not early Tertullian, or Father Rivera is reliable for the Roman Catholic Church. So this is what concerns me, especially things like icons, or believe in Orthodox doctrine, or Orthodox believe in amillennialism. So just a question, have you read any of the works of the early church fathers? Because Eucharist not being the body and blood of Christ, not having infant baptism, some of the sources that you cite clearly speak of this. All right, peace to you. And which out of these proof texts that you use have you read any of these works? Which Orthodox ones, I'm asking? Peace to you.